So for years now, people have been asking for Jordan Brand to give us a pair of sneakers that can switch from a high top to a low top. No, they haven't, but Jordan Brand gave us a pair of those anyway. And in today's video, I'm gonna review Jordan Brand's latest Air Jordan 1 variant and find out whether this shoe is worth it. What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler, and today I'm reviewing the upcoming Air Jordan 1 Switch. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell down below if you haven't yet and you want to see more content just like this. And also make sure to give me a follow on Instagram and on Twitter at @RealSethFowler. So I was fully prepared to come into this review just bashing the crap out of this sneaker because I just didn't understand why Jordan Brand would want to create a shoe that switches from a high top to a low top. And sure, you could make the argument that it's like a budget thing or a versatility thing, and for the same price as one shoe, you can have two different sneakers, and I get that. But I gotta be honest, while you are, I guess, getting two different kinds of the Air Jordan 1 in one, it's kind of like the lesser version of both of those shoes. And while I think this shoe should be renamed the Air Jordan 1 Compromise because it's kind of like not the best of either one, I do have to admit that even though I thought that I was gonna hate this shoe and just want to bash the crap out of it, after having it for a little while and wearing it around, it's not as bad as I originally thought. So the Air Jordan 1 Switch has been leaked for a couple months at this point, almost even a year, and even now we still don't actually have a release date for this shoe. So it came as a huge surprise to me that this shoe is actually available for instant ship on GOAT, which means that even though we don't have an official release date for this shoe, there is stock and it's out there and it's somewhat available. I've also got to be honest, I can't find the price of this shoe anywhere. I've looked all over the internet, no one's released it yet. It's not even on the box, which is kind of crazy. So I'm assuming this shoe is going to be around the Air Jordan 1 price point of $170. It could be more because they are adding some extra expense with the zippers and the fact that the tongue rips off, but I'm assuming it's gonna be less than $200. If it's over $200, that's insane. At $200, you could literally go to the outlet and buy an Air Jordan 1 low and an Air Jordan 1 mid and have two shoes for the price of this one. So I'm hoping and I'm assuming that this shoe is going to be between $170 and $190. This is the first time I don't think I've ever had a price for a review, which is kind of weird, but I can't find it anyway. I will, however, leave a link to Nike in the description below if you guys want to check to see if these shoes have officially dropped or if you guys want to check out any of the other deals going on Nike.com. But really quick, let's take a quick look at the Air Jordan 1 Switch's box and see if there are any differences between its box and a normal pair of Air Jordan 1s. So style-wise, it's the same box as a standard pair of Air Jordan 1s. It comes in black with red text. It still says 1985 Air Jordan 1 on the back, and of course you've still got the size tag on the front. Now, as you can probably see, I had to go with a size 10, and the reason for that was because it was the only size that was available on GOAT. However, I do have to admit, I'm glad I grabbed a size 10, and I'll get to that in a bit. So the official name of this shoe, as you probably already knew, is the Air Jordan 1 Switch, and the official colorway of this pair is white taupe yellow, which is somewhat deceiving when most of the shoe is gray. But hey, it is what it is. So while I'm not in love with the Air Jordan 1 Switch, I do have to admit that it is very interesting for a lot of different reasons. The most obvious of which is that you can actually zip off the top of the shoe and turn it from an Air Jordan 1 high to an Air Jordan 1 low in about 30 seconds. Probably less, but this Velcro is pretty tough. There we go. The only thing it's missing now is a mid-top option. You could have all three Jordan 1s in one if you just added a second zipper. I'm kidding. But a few other things make this shoe interesting, like some of these very unique design details, and also the fact that this shoe features Zoom Air in the insole. But we'll get to all of those details and more later on in the video, so why don't we just jump right into the toe of the sneaker and find out what materials make up the Air Jordan 1 Switch. Actually, before we do that, I gotta put the shoe back together. That's one thing that's kind of a pain in the ass with this shoe. You have to actually like put it back together. I've never had to do that with a pair of shoes before. Damn. There's gonna be a lot of people out there who wear this shoe like this, huh? Ah, man, jabronis. So starting off from the toe, the first thing that you'll notice is that you've got this really plush light gray suede. Now I've got to admit the suede quality on this shoe feels pretty decent. It's very hairy, it feels great to the touch. The only problem that I have with it is that there are some glue marks around where the upper gets in contact with the midsole, and some of them are pretty bad. Now to be fair, that's going to vary from shoe to shoe, but it's possible that you get a pair with a glue mark that looks kind of like this. That That definitely sucks. But hey, you can't really notice it when you're wearing the shoe, so it's not a huge deal. It's just kind of like a little quality control thing that kind of bums me out. As you may have already noticed on the Air Jordan 1 switch, you've got this pretty nice little detail on the lateral side of the toe, and that's this little mini Nike swoosh embroidered in a dark navy. Now, I'm a sucker for mini Nike swooshes. I don't know what it is, it just gives the shoe such a cool look, and I think it's a nice little touch on the front of this sneaker. And to be honest, it does kind of distract from some of the other not so nice looking details on the shoe, which we'll get to in a bit. Continuing up on the shoe to the toe, you've got this pretty standard white Air Jordan leather. It's nothing special, it's not really tumbled, it's just kind of your standard, probably synthetic Jordan brand leather. If it's not synthetic leather, which I think it could be, it just doesn't feel that great. It's kind of plasticky. Then, continuing up in the shoe, you've got more of that light smoke gray suede around the eye stays of the sneaker. And pre-laced through the eyelets, you've got these bright yellow flat laces. This is actually the first pair of Jordan 1 highs that I've gotten in a long time that actually have pre-laced laces. It's kind of a weird detail, and I guess it's because the shoe isn't really a standard Air Jordan 1 high. Now, if you're not a fan of the yellow laces, which I could understand that you might not be, you can switch these out for some gray laces that come in the box, and also a second set of yellow laces, which I think are pretty similar to this set. Not sure why they did that, but you know what? Maybe it's because they're shorter. Then underneath the laces, you've got your first white nylon tongue. And the reason I say your first nylon tongue is because this shoe technically comes with two different tongues. So this first tongue is actually part of the Air Jordan 1 Low and features its own Nike Air logo in this sort of all white nylon tab. It's fine, it actually sits sort of flush with the top of the Air Jordan 1 Low, and it's not a bad look. As you move up on the shoe, you get to the second nylon tongue, which is actually just more of a half tongue. And if you'd like to see what it looks like when it's not on the shoe, here you go. It's just kind of like a weird piece of material. So the bottom half of this second tongue actually comes completely covered in Velcro, and the reason they do that is because the back of the first tongue has some Velcro on it as well, and you can kind of stick them together like this, and now you've got an even longer tongue. Obviously, the shoe comes with the two tongues attached, and if you're gonna wear it as a high top, you should wear it with the two tongues attached because it wouldn't look right with just the low top tongue and a high top body. It would be a weird look. On the top of the second tongue, you've got this pull tab with sort of a 3D Nike Air logo in yellow, as well as this sort of deep navy button, which you can unbutton. Not sure why, I'm not sure what else you'd connect it to, but oh, maybe the back of the shoe? Oh, that actually makes sense. Okay, so if you want to keep the two pieces of the shoe together when you take them apart, you can actually button your tongue to the back of the back part of the shoe, or whatever it's called, and you can kind of keep them together so you don't lose them. Kind of an interesting detail, a good way to keep your shoes from getting lost, I guess. Then on the back of the top half of the tongue, it's getting really complicated. You've got some nice padded fabric that feels really nice against the top of your foot. The shorter tongue on the Air Jordan 1 Low, I believe, also has the same fabric. Kind of does, it's got some Velcro on the back, but you don't really feel that when you're wearing the high top version. You know what, man, this review took forever. I had to do 2 sets of B-roll for this. I'm essentially doing 2 different reviews. This is a weird video, I'm not gonna lie. And then moving inside the sneaker, things get even weirder because you've got this sort of gray sock liner, which is also pretty well padded, but you've also got this almost internal booty construction, which is the bottom half or the top half of the Air Jordan 1 Low. It's just the Air Jordan 1 Low. The zipper is not right up against your foot. The zipper is actually up against the outside of the Air Jordan 1 Low. And because of that, you've got essentially 2 different interiors of the shoe, which make this shoe much more complicated than I think it needs to be. But getting to a detail of this shoe, which I actually kind of like and I didn't expect, but I don't always like it. I only like it in certain situations. So because the inside of this shoe is sort of like 2 different shoes, it's kind of hard to get your foot into it. But Jordan Brand actually gives you this yellow pull tab on the bottom shoe or on the low top version that allows you to pull your foot through the top of the shoe into the actual bottom of the sneaker itself. You get a much better idea of how this pull tab looks on the low top version. It also doesn't really look quite right on the low top version. It looks a little bit long, but I guess it has to be there because it'd be almost impossible to get your foot into the shoe without it. Whereas on the high top version, it just kind of sits behind your ankle and just doesn't really cause any problems. Finishing off the inside of the shoe, you've got a gray insole with the bright yellow Zoom Air text printed on the heel. Now the reason that Zoom Air text is printed on the heel is because underneath the insole, you actually have a Zoom Air unit underneath your heel. Now if you're familiar with any of the Nike SB Dunks or even the SB Air Jordan 1s, you're used to this. It feels exactly the same as it does in those other shoes. But if you're someone who's never experienced this extra Zoom Air unit underneath your foot, it's not life-changing, but it is a nice little piece of extra cushion underneath your heel. But now let's talk about fit. And the first thing that you need to know about the Air Jordan 1 Switch is that it does not fit like a standard pair of Air Jordan 1s. So remember how I said I bought a size 10 and I was annoyed at first, but then when I actually tried the shoe on, I was stoked on it? It's because this shoe fits pretty small. Now I guess it makes sense because you've got two shoes and you've got one that's sort of smaller than the other that you kind of have to jam your foot into, so I understand why it fits smaller. They actually also might use a completely different last than standard pairs of Air Jordan 1s. I'm not 100% sure on that. But for whatever reason, I found that the Air Jordan 1 switch fits small. Now I'm usually a size 9 and a size 10 would be way too big on my feet, but in this particular pair, it felt fine. It almost felt right, like the right size. Now, I'm not saying you should go up a full size in this shoe. I think I just hadn't fully unlaced the laces yet, and it was still a little bit tighter than it could have been, but I would suggest probably going up a half size. This shoe just fits tighter than a standard pair of Air Jordan 1s, and if you want to be safe, I would definitely suggest going up half a size. As far as comfort though, the Air Jordan 1 switch did feel very comfortable on foot. You've got that extra Zoom Air cushion underneath your heel. The upper is padded pretty well, essentially because you have two of them, so it feels really nice against your foot. And overall, I'd say it's one of the more comfortable pairs of Air Jordan 1s. But now that we've talked about fit and we've talked about comfort and the materials and all that sort of good stuff, let's talk about what makes this shoe so different and so special. So as you already saw, the reason this shoe is called the Air Jordan 1 switch is because it switches between a high top to a low top. And the way that you do that is by unzipping the top and then pulling off the tongue, which is Velcro to the top of the other tongue. And once you've done that, you've got a pair of Air Jordan 1 lows, albeit with a bright yellow zipper and a weird pull tab on the back. Now, while I understand why this concept is somewhat novel and how it gives you some versatility because you have two different versions of the shoe that you can wear, and again, it is, I guess, saving you some money because you can have a high top and a low top in one shoe. While I get all of that, it just doesn't look that great. Now I will say that when the shoe is in its Air Jordan 1 low variant, it definitely looks decent. It looks like a standard pair of Air Jordan 1s. I don't love this bright yellow zipper around the top, but if that's the worst thing about the shoe, that's not terrible, and you know, you can always cover it up with a pant leg or something like that. Now I will say that the overall shape of the shoe is kind of off. Like rather than the heel kind of sweeping forward a little bit, it goes straight up, obviously because of the zipper situation, and the front half of the shoe doesn't look exactly right, and I can't put my finger on why, but it just doesn't. But to me, where this shoe gets really weird is when you see this shoe in its high top variant, which based on all the marketing and all the pictures and the way that the shoe comes inside the box, seems to be the main way that you're supposed to wear this shoe. So okay, just take a couple seconds, look at the side of the shoe straight on, and see if you can see why this shoe looks a little bit off. Could you see it? Well, if you couldn't, it's because of that giant yellow zipper that's impossible to miss. Obviously, I'm being a little bit facetious, but you see what I mean. Besides the fact that the zipper comes in a bright yellow or a contrasting color, it also pushes the details on the bottom of the shoe and the top of the shoe away from each other, which means that the sort of feng shui of the heel of the shoe that we've all gotten used to over the last 35 years is off. Because of this giant zipper that kind of causes this almost 1-inch separation between the top half and the bottom half of the shoe, you had to push down the Nike swoosh, you had to raise up the Wings logo, you had to push down the heel counter, all parts of the shoe that just look so much better when they are in their normal orientation. I mean, look at the Air Jordan 1 switch compared to a standard pair of Air Jordan 1s. The heel of the shoe looks like it's been extended or like pulled apart. It's just not a good look. And so for me, while I don't mind wearing the shoe in its low top variant, I just can't get behind it in its high top variant. It just looks dumb. I'm sorry, it just looks dumb. It almost makes it look like it's a platform sneaker. It really does. Like that one women's sneaker, I forget what the name of that sneaker is, that kind of has this like hidden platform in it, and it's got this huge back. It looks like that a lot, and I just don't like it. Which is really hard for me to say because the Air Jordan 1 has always been my favorite sneaker, especially in the high top or OG variant. But this one, man, this doesn't do it for me. This is like a bad sequel to a really great movie. It's like Independence Day 2. That movie sucked. And unfortunately, because the fact that the shoe switches is like the gimmick of the shoe, they had to highlight this detail by making it bright yellow, which makes it even more obvious that it just doesn't look right. Now, of course, I'm not gonna hate on you if you have this shoe. I totally understand if you like it. Just for me, sort of an Air Jordan 1 purist, this is not something that I really like. It just takes a lot of the things that I love about the Air Jordan 1 and kind of screws them up. And not only that, another detail which I didn't even realize that I didn't like until I had the shoe in hand was the fact that when you're wearing the shoe as a high top, the zipper just kind of floats around on the side. You can't do anything with it. You can't like tuck it into the back of the shoe. You can't tuck it anywhere else. It just kind of sits there. It's like a little tassel. Oh, and another thing. I know I have a million things I don't like about the shoe, and I swear I don't hate this shoe. I just don't love it. You can't lace the shoe all the way up if you ever decide you want to lower the shoe. Like you have to unlace the top half of the sneaker and then take it apart. You can't lace it all the way up and then decide, oh, I want a low top. But now that we've covered the main feature of the shoe, the switch feature, let's continue back in the sneaker and check out some of the other details that make up the Air Jordan 1 high switch. Not high switch, Air Jordan 1 switch. Continuing back in the shoe to the midfoot, you've got more of that white, somewhat plasticky leather. Of course, like I mentioned before, you've got your little tassel right there, which actually, now that I'm looking at it, the zipper says R in it, and then it says L on the other side, so that's kind of nice. But getting back into the midfoot, you've got this light smoke gray Nike swoosh, and like I said before, it's kind of pushed down on the shoe and doesn't really look right. I think it might actually even be bigger than a standard Nike swoosh. Maybe ever so slightly bigger, but not by that much. As you continue back on the lateral side of this shoe, you've got more of this gray suede around the wing portion of the heel, and you've also got that Wings logo sort of pressed in bright white. Then around the top of the ankle, you've got some white leather, and then on the top of the heel, you've got that feature that allows you to snap the tongue into the back of the shoe so that you don't lose it. Finishing off the back of the shoe, you've got this shortened light smoke gray suede heel counter. Moving down on the shoe, you've got the sail colored midsole, which I've got to admit, I actually really like. I like the fact that it's got this slight contrast between the bright white leather on the upper. It kind of gives the shoe more of a skater vibe, which so does that Nike swoosh actually. It makes the shoe look a little bit more utilitarian, which, you know, to be fair, I guess the zipper does as well. Then finally moving to the bottom of the shoe, you've got this light gray outsole rubber, which is actually a slightly different shade of gray than the rest of the shoe. And I understand it's really hard to match two different material colors, but I wish it was just a tad bit more yellowy, because that's what the gray is on the upper of the shoe. Overall, the Air Jordan 1 switch is a very interesting take on the Air Jordan 1. And I've got to be honest, I don't love it. I know I've said that throughout the entire review, and while I don't love this shoe, I don't think it's a bad sneaker, and I think in the low top variant in particular, it actually looks kind of nice. This is just one of those variants that just didn't need to be made. It's like one of those shoes that I'm sure was a cool concept, but in practice, it just doesn't work for me. And honestly, I feel like this shoe is gonna go the same way as the Flyknit Air Jordan 1. It's gonna get some notoriety and some popularity for the first year that it's out, and then we're never gonna see it again. It's just not the strongest Air Jordan 1 concept we've ever seen. And to be honest with you, out of all the colorways that we've seen of this shoe so far, this light smoke gray one is the only one that I actually like, and the only one that I'd even consider getting. Maybe they'll drop a red one in the future. Maybe I'll have to try and grab that one. I don't know. But for me, man, this is a pass. But now I'd love to know your thoughts on the Air Jordan 1 High Switch, and whether you're planning to grab a pair of these shoes when they finally release, whenever they finally release. So make sure to let me know in the comment section down below. This tassel has been pissing me off the entire review. Stop it. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support in the channel. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.